Hello, and welcome to another segment of Real Women, Real Leaders, Real Talk. I am your host, Coach Tracey Knight, and I am super excited to be here with you today. Want to talk about a topic that has been heavy on my mind. I've gotten some listeners who've written in and wanted to ask me some questions about relationships. Relationships are by far the undergirding of everything that we do in life. You are in relationship with family. You are in relationship with your sexually intimate partners. You are in relationship with the people you work with. You're in relationship with the average Joe on the street. Relationships with people are the undergirding of everything. And not only are they the undergirding of everything, they are the framework for us to learn more about ourselves. And so that's why today I wanted to talk about the topic, is it stupid to go back into a relationship with someone who hurt you? So that's the topic for today. Is it stupid to go back into a relationship with someone that hurt you? You know, so often I see, especially with women, and this is it's not just unique to women, but I do see it with women, where they really want a relationship and they're willing to, quote unquote, do what it takes to get a relationship and to keep that relationship. And so when the relationship goes awry, they're trying to figure out if they should try to hold on to that relationship because, again, they don't want to be out here in these streets, quote unquote, dating, because sometimes that can be a task in and of itself. Here's what I know for sure about relationships. Relationships are work. They take a lot of effort to be in them. Take it from someone who has been married and divorced twice and have learned to love again. I have a beautiful relationship with a man that gets me and I get him. But when I tell you I have earned this relationship, that's an understatement. And what I mean by earning is I ended up doing a lot of work with and on myself in order to become the woman who could manage the caliber of relationship that I have. That every single relationship that you have is a mirror reflection of who you are. That doesn't mean that you caused the person to take some action that hurt you. But what it does say is that whatever relationship you have is a byproduct of who you are and how you show up in relationships. See, the principle is that you can only attract that which you are. I didn't make that up. That's just universal law. Take it up with God. You can only attract that which you are. So what I mean by that is when you don't have a whole bunch of trust within yourself, you're kind of stepping into a relationship and you're like, well, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you. So you're sort of putting the onus on the other person for them to walk a fine line in order for you to feel comfortable in the relationship. You're already starting off on the wrong foot. Every individual, it's incumbent upon you to set a set of standards that you live by. They're your standards about what type of relationship you want to have. And those standards are set to hold you accountable for being the person who you say you are. So the standard is not that you're holding them to the standard, you're holding yourself to a standard. So let's say, for example, I have standards, and in my standards for sexually intimate partners would be something like, integrity is like number one. Honesty and being trustworthy mean I can trust myself and I want to be in a relationship with people who I can trust. That is number one. So clearly, if as I am dating a person, if I can see that I cannot trust the person and the relationship causes me to second guess as to whether or not I can trust myself, like I start feeling like, well, God, am I crazy? Then it's already out of alignment with my standards. It's already out of alignment. But a lot of times we don't want to, I don't want to say desperate, but so often we don't want to have to start over again. We don't want to have to start over again trying to find someone to date. So we're willing to give some grace on the standards, and what ends up happening is people always show you who they are. They always show you that. And it doesn't mean that a person cannot shift, which is what I'm getting to here. That's not what that means. But what I first want you to understand, and I first want you to know, is the standards are your standards that you set for yourself. So getting clear about what the standards are in your relationship. Like for me, part of my standards have to do with being able to deal with conflict, because I already know that conflict is going to happen in a relationship. You're going to have some disagreements. So if the man that I'm dating is not willing to go through and have conversations and navigate through, to work through conflict, we're not going to work out. Because if what he does is shut down, that's already against my standards. It's already going to bump up against it, because I want somebody who I can work with through through conflict. So the first and foremost thing that every person is so important, and we never do this, and this is why I'm going to create like a school of life. In fact, that's what I'm building right now, because some of these very basic things we don't do on the front end, which is to get clear about what you value, what your standards are. Now, should you go back to a person who has hurt you? Every single relationship is going to come with conflict. There's going to be disappointments. That does not mean that we try to hold people to an expectation that's so high that if they ever disappoint you, that they can't be redeemed from that. No, absolutely not. You can't even live up to that. I know I can't. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to do some messed up stuff in a relationship. Like I work really hard to just be the woman who I say I am. I uphold my values, my standards, all of that. However, sometimes I get irritated, and I don't always show up as powerful as I would like to. I do most of the time, but sometimes life gets to me. So I may be a little snippy. Okay, well, that could hit my spouse in a way that that doesn't sit well with me, right? So I could do something unintentionally to hurt them. Let's just say, so with that, my point is that people are going to disappoint at times. And so we have to allow for some space and some grace and some mercy for people to be able to be human. Now you might say, well, what if it's things like infidelity? Well, I don't know. In your relationship, in the communication, which most people are not having real transparent conversations before they even get into getting deep, like sleeping with one another, you're not even getting clear about what that person values. Having a sexual exchange with somebody is like that's the highest it can go, quite honestly, in terms of levels of intimacy. And so if you have levels of intimacy with someone and you've not gotten clear about what the playground is and what the rules of the game are, then how can you hold somebody to a standard that you don't even know what the rules of the game are? So if there is infidelity, my first question is, were you all clear that this was going to be a sexually exclusive relationship? Okay. So let's say that the person that you all were clear on that, and the person they actually had an experience that violated that. They violated that agreement. Well, what I would say to answer this question is it stupid to go back to somebody who has hurt you? I want to offer you 3 checkpoints to answer this question, okay? The first one is check in with yourself. Check in with yourself on why you are considering going back into the relationship. In other words, what's your motive for wanting to go back into the relationship? Are you going back into the relationship because you feel that they meet a need of yours? And then I would ask the question, is it really a need or a want? Okay. Are you going back into the relationship because you feel a sense of loss? Or you feel like you need them to fix the stuff around your house, or you need them for sex, or there are all these things that you feel a sense of loss over if you don't have it. So something is not going to be met. Are you afraid to be alone? Like, that's a big thing. That's a lot of the reason why people stay in relationships and they stay in the vicious cycle over and over and over again, because they are absolutely afraid of being alone. And I want to tell you that it's 7 billion people on the planet. I'm pretty confident that you will not be alone. And I'm pretty confident that if you get yourself to become the person that you want to be in a relationship and you can deliver on it, I'm convinced that you can attract the caliber of relationship that you truly, truly want. So you don't have to be afraid of being alone, because at least half, or let's just say 40% of the population are men. And so while you don't need half of 8 billion people, because it's about 8 billion people now, while you don't need half of them, but I'm pretty confident that you can find a partner in that. Okay, so this idea of being alone, this idea of needing somebody to do certain things for you. Again, if you're in that mindset where you need them, that in and of itself is going to attach you to them. So now you can't really make an effective decision, because you're so tethered to, like, you're attached to the fact that you need this and you feel like you can't get it outside of yourself. So now you're going to make decisions based on that, opposed to what the type of decision that is going to be really best for you. And then maybe, again, to answer this question as you're checking in with yourself, are you getting back with them because they want you to? So often, or your parents want them to, or your friends think he's a great guy, whatever it is, that they're a great person and they want to see you together. I have friends like that where your girlfriend was dating a guy. Clearly, this guy is misaligned for her. Yes, he does a lot of stuff for her, but you can hire somebody to do that type of stuff. But her parents was like, well, you need to go ahead and be with them because they don't want you to be alone. So they think it's best for you. No. Because now you're making decisions to people please people. Now, and you're the person who has to be there with them all the time. So the first thing you want to do is to check in with why you are considering going back into the relationship. Number 2, again, is it stupid to go back to a relationship with somebody who has hurt you? Number 2 on this is, what is the value of the relationship? Relationships are assets. At least they're supposed to be assets. What is an asset? An asset is something that adds value. It increases in value. So you want to be asking yourself, and this is both in a tangible and an intangible way, is the relationship really adding true value to your life? Things like, not just material, because that would be like tangible stuff, but things like, or that they fix the light bulb, they put the light bulb in. Those are very tangible things and they're great, but let's go a little deeper than that. Do they listen? And then that's important to you. Are they supportive? Is it a supportive type relationship where you feel supported? Is it a friendship? Friendships are the best type of relationships to make lovers, because you actually like the person. It goes beyond just love and sex. It's like you actually like the person as a friend. So are they a friend? And in that friendship, and we're talking about this relationship, is it an asset? Does it hold you accountable? Because really great friends hold you accountable for becoming a better version of yourself. Does this relationship cause you to learn and grow? Again, we're talking about the relationship. Is it an asset? Does the relationship stretch you? Does the relationship create a sense of fun and enjoyment for you? So we're looking at whether or not the relationship actually adds value to you. So that would be a determining factor. The third determining factor is, what does the relationship cost you? This is a big one. And you have to be very, very honest with yourself. What does the relationship cost you? Is it costing you your self-worth? Is this relationship draining you of energy? Do you have to work real hard at it? Like, relationships are already work. But do you feel stress? Do you feel like you've got to constantly people please? Do you feel like a lot of uncertainty and anxiety when you're in the relationship? Do you have a lot of doubt? Things like there's a lack of trust in the relationship. Now, trust is something, it's a very tricky thing because trust is the undergirding of every relationship. It is very easily broken, okay? But it can be repaired. But if you're in a situation where you really do not trust the essence of who this person is, why are you trying to be in a relationship with them? You know? But if it is a situation where a person made a mistake, which people do all the time, I do, you know, and you really want to work at rebuilding the trust can be rebuilt because as human beings, we do make mistakes and we need to offer grace and mercy. And then the lastly is if the relationship is abusive in any way, mentally, emotionally, physically, again, that is a relationship that costs you more than making a deposit in you. So these three things will help you to decide whether or not you go back into a relationship with a person who has hurt you. Again, I often think, so often we try to hold people to super high standards that we don't even hold ourselves to. So we want for people to be our all when we won't even be our all for ourselves. So as you're having this debate and this discussion with yourself, I would just challenge you to really think about what are the standards that you want to hold for yourself in being in relationship, and then use that to guide how you build relationships and the quality and the caliber of relationships that you allow into your life. And in the meantime, just enjoy having some fun in your relationships. Try not to get too tethered or tied to relationships or making people be what you want them to be. Allow people the freedom to be who they are, to just show up as they are, and then determine whether or not that relationship is an alignment or a misalignment. If it adds more value, it's an asset. Keep the asset and learn how to appreciate it. Now, not all stocks or investments like real estate constantly see increases. You will see drops in stock and that type of thing over time. But you're playing for the long game in investment. So play for the long game in your relationships. If it is a relationship that there is more loss, more deficit, more penalties, more burden than it is asset or appreciation or value in the relationship, let it go. That's it. That's it for today. Thank you for joining in. I saw so many people pop on. I really appreciate hearing from you. Post your questions in the box. I'm happy to answer them on both in the chat, but I also will use some of your questions to sort of drive other shows. So looking forward to hearing and seeing you all on the next show of Real Women, Real Leaders, Real Talk. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. I am going to figure this shit out.